to provide men, women, and children with the safety, security, and the strength to move forward. This would be above 90% are female. That's reported though. So the numbers are hard to fully identify because there's men out there that do not report due to shame and things like that. So reported numbers, it's well over 90% are females. We see clients Monday through Friday between the hours of 9 and 4. So there's an hour appointment block for every single one of those. We have bilingual case managers as well as masters of social work, counselors. So at any given time, any of those appointments would be filled with a client. So, I mean, during a week, we would have 50 appointments probably. Yeah. And I mean, they're not all coming in. We see a lot of walk-ins, people coming in just because they know they need to come in and get some help. At the shelter, it's 36 beds at a 45-day stay. So it's constantly rotating there, but there could be up to 36 people there. And I know that we're not full right now. We have one room available, which means we're probably at 32 people in the shelter. They're receiving, they have their own personal case manager, they have a housing advocate, and they have a child advocate. They each have specific roles in the client's case. So obviously the housing advocate would be the person helping them transition into an apartment or transitional housing, or maybe another shelter that would be suitable for them, depending on what their case is. So because we're an emergency stay shelter, we have to get all of that stuff done in 45 days. Right now, I mean, I can say we have a woman in our shelter from Alaska, and she fled and knew she had some family here in New Jersey, didn't really know them very well. So when she got here, she didn't really know them very well. They weren't like, come on in. Yeah. But she fled with her 4 children. That's often the reason people come forward. So, domestic violence has always been like seeing the woman cowered in the corner with a black eye and being attacked. But we experience a lot of cases of what we call crazy making. So just really mental, emotional, psychological abuse that clients don't feel like people will understand them because they've been told that you're crazy, that's not happening, like you caused me to do this, like you do this to yourself, things like that. So they're constantly told this every day by their abuser. So coming in here, and if we're able to validate that client's fears and what's going on psychologically at home, it's often like a real breaking point. It's when we really get through to a client. It's like we use something called the power and control wheel. I think Danielle has it here. And when somebody looks at this is nothing physical. Nothing on here says physical abuse. This is coercion and threats, intimidating you, gender privilege, economic abuse. We have a lot of clients that get an allowance, or they're not allowed to go. They can only go with the abuser to buy diapers. Mm-hmm. It's very, they check their mileage on their car. They make sure they just go to work and back, nowhere further. Using the kids against them, minimizing, denying, blaming is a big thing. That's really the crazy making, like that didn't happen, or it's not as big as you think it was. Really minimizing what they've done. Isolating the client. It starts off like, your friends hate me, your mom doesn't like me, you're not gonna be around I don't want you to be around them anymore. So you're isolated from your family. The abuse can continue. Mm-hmm. You're not sharing it with anyone anymore. And then there's that big one, the emotional abuse there. Those are those put downs, humiliating clients in public. That can really focus into like some sexual abuse in there as well. That it's really hard for clients to talk about. But often if you put this in front of them, and this is made out of interviews that were consulted with, it was like 900 women, and these were the most common responses.
So that's DVRT, which is the Domestic Violence Response Team. Myself and Veronica, who's my partner, we run that team. We do the 40-hour training for volunteers. So we recruit throughout the entire Camden County for anyone who wants to join the team. What we do is our volunteers, after they're 40-hour trained, they will basically give us whatever schedule they can for the month. And if there's a call, if a police officer brings the victim back to the police department or the hospital, they will call our hotline and activate our DVRT. So if you're on call, you will respond to whatever police department that is or the hospital. And basically when you're there with a victim, sometimes they just don't want to talk at all, and that's fine. You're just sitting there in comfortable silence and give them our information. But most of the time you're there to support them to, they're intimidated, their kids might be there crying, and there's just officers all out there. So our volunteers are trained to give them information about the restraining orders, like how the process is going to work, what court you're going to go to, because it can be very confusing with civil court and criminal court because of charges and then the restraining order. So our volunteers explain that process. They line them up with all the resources that may need, like maybe they don't have any food in the house. So we have resource books that we keep in the police departments along with all of our other pamphlets. But they go through the power and control wheel with the victims. They go through safety planning, which is key because sometimes victims don't, they want to go home and they don't, even maybe the abuser is still running around and the officers didn't arrest him, or maybe she.
And he's probably going to get out that night anyway.
Yes, that is true. So, and they won't take his key because he could have already went and made 15 keys. So what's the point of taking that key if he was arrested and they let him out? So that's where safety planning comes in because, if he shows up at your door, what are you going to do? Are you going to keep your phone in your hand, sleep, where's your bed? I sleep on the first floor, so push your bed near the window. So if someone, don't go out and inspect that sound. If you hear something in the middle of the night, grab your kids and go. So resources, safety planning, we go over the legal information. We refer to different resources that we have for legal. Like we have legal advocates here, but we also have South Jersey Legal. The story was I was in a 10-year, very violent marriage, and no one ever called the police. I had 6 kids. I was actually left when I was pregnant with the second set of twins. So there was 4 kids and the second set of twins I was pregnant. But like I said, no police were ever involved in these 10 years. But one day, someone handed me a phone number. And that phone number, on a ripped up piece of paper, I thought it was a support group for DV because I actually had a black eye. I was a waitress at Denny's overnight. And so I put that phone number in my bra. I always kept like a $5 bill on this side and that phone number in my bra for like one day, maybe I'll go and talk to somebody. But the day that I did need it was the 2 days that I left, which was torture for 2 days. I actually... Once he passed out, I took all the 4 kids and I put them in the car and I grabbed 2 diapers and I told his mother that I'll be back when I pick up my check. And she said, no, you can leave the babies here. I'll babysit. But I knew that I'm not going to become you. Like you're normalizing this whole situation because you're also abused. So when I left, I called that phone number. I went to a payphone. I called that phone number and I had no gas because he used all my gas. I had only that $5 and it actually ended up being a safe house. No, it wasn't here because I'm from Maryland, so I'm from Baltimore area. And they said they gave me the instructions to come in. I had to rip up the instructions, like write it down, memorize it, rip it up. And I did. And I went where the safe house was right around the corner from my house. So I lived in little one-way streets. So when I drove back, I was just thinking he's running around these streets trying to find me right now. And I can't believe I'm going right back to where he is. It wasn't even a card. It was just literally on a piece of paper. A phone hotline. Which I thought was a support group. Because I hadn't been going to the support group Al-Anon because he was an alcoholic. So I thought it was just another like support group and maybe I'll use it one day. But after that 2 days of, I was pregnant with twins and he strangled me. He tried to throw me out the second story window and all the 4 kids were in the other room. And then it started again the next morning. And then once he passed out, that's when I was like, no, I can't do it. Because his mother had left that night when I was screaming for her to come up and help me. I heard the front door shut and I was thinking, she really just left me up here. But
so she knew that he physical.
Yeah. But she also had 7 kids by 7 different guys and all of them were abusive and this was to her, and he was the youngest one, so she was deathly afraid of him too. So when I woke up in the morning and started again and he passed out, she had come back and she was in there cooking him breakfast saying he just needs something in his belly, he's going to be okay after he gets some food in his belly because he's drank too much. And that's when I just sat there with the tears in my eyes and I knew, no, I'm going to take the babies and I'm going to go pick up my check from Denny's. And I felt like we had a moment, like she just looked at me and I looked at her and she knew I wasn't coming back. And I took the 2 diapers and I had that $5 and that's it.